Okay, it's 3 p.m., so I think we can start. So introducing Shiva, a software engineer from the USA and an active member of the global Python community. Also, he's presented at PyCon USA, Japan, and Australia. And today he'll explore the art of writing beautiful Python code. So you may start.
Oh, Sandra, thank you so much for the introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So, the title of this talk is Coding Aesthetics, PEP, Existing Conventions, and Beyond. So, I'd like to start this talk with a few set of questions that often come to our mind when we write a new software program. First and foremost, we'd like to know what is the functionality of the program, what the program aims to achieve. We are also curious to know by when should we complete the program. We are also interested in the performance of the program. Would the program scale to a larger user base or not? Similarly, we are also interested whether the program is secure enough so that our users can trust it. There are many other questions which might come to our mind. This specific talk revolves around one specific question, and I have intentionally omitted it in this specific slide. I'll get back to it at the end of the talk. So, what is programming? So, Knuth emphasizes on the human aspect of programming. As much as we write code for a computer as an instruction, while doing so, we are also telling another human being what we are telling the computer to do. And it is one of Guido's key insights that code is read more often than it's written. So this also emphasizes on the human part of the code, that we are actually also writing code for another human being. And this is a the title of this talk is Coding Aesthetics. So whenever we hear the word aesthetics, what does come to our mind? Any guess? I'm sorry. Pretty? Yeah, that's close enough. Close enough. Any other guess? Clean, beautiful. That's pretty close enough. So maybe we associate aesthetics with art in general. And I think one of the participants mentioned about beauty. So maybe we associate this with beauty, or beauty that's perceived from the art. It is said that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. So this is something that is objective as well. Oh, sorry, it is something that is subjective as well. So our idea of beauty in general, or it might be a general perception of things itself, which is not limited to sight, but it transcends to other human senses as well. So again, this is a software engineering conference, and by coding aesthetics, by coding aesthetics, I'm trying to refer to these four aspects of code. And it is not very dissimilar from the general idea of aesthetics itself. So if a code is consistent in style, if it's maintainable, if it's readable, and if it's precise and concise to address a specific problem, then we could say that it is highly aesthetically pleasing. If any of these attributes, if any or all of these attributes are missing, then we could say that the code is not aesthetically pleasing. And some of the aphorisms in Zen of Python, I could list 5 of these. They are explicitly talking about aesthetics. And as programmers, we often use the phrase the Pythonic way. By this phrase, what we are trying to refer to is writing code in clean, elegant, and concise manner. And personally, I find so many similarity between programming and creative writing. So if someone is writing a piece of poetry or a piece of fiction, I find some of the things very much similar with writing code itself. And in both the forms of art, the pleasure comes from sheer delight of creating things. For example, when somebody is writing a story or a piece of poetry, at the beginning there's a blank page, and at the end of the writing session, something is there. And same thing is with programming as well. At first, there is a blank text file, and then once we write code in it, we come up with a with something that that achieves a particular functionality. So so in that sense, I find both somewhat similar, and both are iterative process. So we begin with a draft, and then we make modifications to it until it achieves certain functionality, and also it meets certain standard of aesthetics. And and then the first talk earlier in this morning was about code review. And the presenter also emphasized on the iterative process of writing code, that getting feedback from someone and then modifying it until it meets the team standard. And um, this quote, I could not figure out who said it for the first time, but I do also believe that good piece of code should be like poetry. And in fact, I do believe that good piece of code should be like a refined piece of poetry, not just any poetry. So how do we make our code like that? And there are three general techniques for any programming language. Uh, so the first one is complying to a particular style guide. And this was also mentioned a little bit on the first talk earlier today. And and in case of Python, PEP is the standard style guide that we use. Of course, there are other style guides available as well. For example, Google also use their own style guide. And PEP, the idea of the style guide is to enforce or suggest consistency. But as mentioned in PEP documentation itself, obviously the idea is to suggest some kind of consistency, but it also encourages us to make pragmatic choices in terms of style. And there are different static code analysis tools that can be used to enforce PEP consistency in a code. So in this talk, we'll be we'll be discussing a little bit about two of the tools. The first one is Pylint. So it helps to detect code smells, the sections of the code that require improvement in terms of style, and it is based on PEP guidelines. But it can also be customized, and it can be easily integrated with editors like VS Code, PyCharm, etc. So this is a sample program on which we ran Pylint. This is a program, this is a function that computes factorial of a number. First, it checks whether the number is valid. Then it computes the factorial. So when we ran Pylint on it, it complained several things. One of the things was the name of the function, and then the way if-else statements are written, and then also the missing duck strings. So so after seeing these suggestions, we made some changes to the code and then ran Pylint again. Now it doesn't complain anything. That means for the guideline that it's based on, this version of the code complies. So this is Pylint, and the next tool is Black. So in case of Pylint, it gives us suggestions, and we have to make modification ourselves. So Black is an automated tool. So it does the thing for us. And um, this is an example on which we ran Pylint. So it fixed some of the spacing related style issues, and also if you see in line number 7, it added a space between the two operands on the left and right of the multiplication operator. So so this is the first technique, and second technique, and with the style. So this is the first technique, and it helps to achieve the consistency aspect of the code. The second technique that helps to make our code more aesthetically pleasing is refactoring. And refactoring is a way is a process of making changes to the internal structure of the code without actually modifying its external behavior. And this is an iterative process. First, we ensure that we have solid set of tests. Then we identify areas of the code that need improvement. Then we make improvement, which is refactoring itself. And then we repeat the process until the moment when code meets the standard that we have set. And through refactoring, what we are achieving is we are achieving readability and maintainability aspect of the code. So the third technique that we could implement to make our code more aesthetically pleasing is using syntactic sugars. So they are constructs for a concise and more aesthetically pleasing code. And the two techniques earlier, they helped achieve consistency, readability, and maintainability aspect. And with syntactic sugars, we could also achieve the brevity part of coding aesthetics. And we have a couple of examples. So first one is list comprehension. Both the sections of the code are doing the same thing, but the second version is more aesthetically pleasing, and it is concise as well. Similarly, we use f strings, and the second version is not necessarily concise, but it is definitely more elegant and more intuitive to understand. So Python is a programming language that's very rich in syntactic sugars. Let's make more use of them and make our code more aesthetically pleasing. So far we talked about aesthetics, and then the three techniques that help achieve it, and then um, first technique was using style guides. So in Python's case, that is PEP 8. And I'd like to say a little bit more on the style guide itself. And this will be also very similar to one of the things that earlier presenter this morning mentioned about creating your own style guide. So one thing to note about all these style guides, not just in Python, but in any programming language, is they are suggestions and not prescriptions. So there's a big difference between the two. And programming languages, they evolve with time. They do not remain the same. And style choices also, they actually evolve with time. They do not remain the same. And in human language, we use so many local idioms, local words. Those could be appropriate in one specific context, one specific place, but they might be offensive or not so appropriate in other culture, other specific context. So same is with programming language as well. Some of the style choices that we make, they might be appropriate in one context, but they might not be appropriate in another context. And as programmers, we often face this dilemma, not just in terms of style, but almost anything we do, that of purity or of that whether to choose purity or pragmatism, or whether to find a right balance between the two. And in case of PEP, a simple example would be whether to use snake case or camel case. Obviously, PEP suggests snake case, but for example, we have a large code base where all the functions and methods are already written in camel case. Then it might be a good idea to make a pragmatic choice and go with camel case. And line width again. Again, this was mentioned in the earlier talk this morning, that um, about making pragmatic choices regarding line width. So Pipit, it suggests to keep to keep a length of each of the line of code less than 80 characters, but this might sometimes be too limiting. So in this case also we could make pragmatic choices in terms of style in our specific project. And this is an immersion quote. Uh, it's quoted in PEP documentation itself. A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. So what it's saying is, obviously consistency is important, but um, we also have to make common sense or more pragmatic choices while we are following the prescribed suggestion or suggested while we are following the suggested guideline. And earlier I mentioned that a good piece of code should be like a refined piece of poetry. So one of the things that poets do is they break conventions or they go beyond conventions. So it's programmers also, uh, if going beyond the existing style convention helps our project, helps our team, then it might be a really good idea to actually go beyond existing conventions. And this specific talk started with few set of questions, and I intentionally omitted one specific question. Um, and maybe when we write a new software program next time, maybe we could also ask ourselves, what will somebody else think of this code 6 months down the line? Because 6 months down the line, that somebody else could also be the original author of the code, because 6 months down the line, they are no longer the same person. They will be looking at the code in a different time, in a different context, and with different set of eyes. With this, I'd like to end this talk. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience.
Thanks so much for the presentation. And from the audience, because we have quite some time, do we have any questions? Any questions? Yes.
Do you have any tips for the naming specifically? Like how to make the code more beautiful with regards to naming functions? I do not have any tips in particular. So it depends on the specific project that you'd be working on. And so yeah, between snake case and camel case, I do not have any specific preference. But what I would encourage is, or what I would prefer is, I would prefer to um, go with the convention that the team is following. So yeah.
Okay.
Readability of the code versus um,
influence code efficiency negatively.
Sorry, did you mean efficiency as a developer to complete the code, or
No,
like efficiency in terms of the functionality of the code?
Code execution efficiency.
Code execution. That's a great question. I think so. You mean would it be a good idea to prioritize readability over efficiency?
Yeah, and where's the middle ground?
I guess obviously it also it depends on the project that we are working on, and obviously there would be certain project where you have to prioritize efficiency over all other aspects. So yeah, it really depends on the type of specific project.